Gerard Mazaros, who wrote a pattern called Path Object Plus Protocol. And it is a global symmetry. And we have a half call in Nagasaki and a half call in Tokyo, and they talk to each other over a protocol. What DCI says is, no, this is a global symmetry. What we need to do is look at local symmetries. How do I, as someone at one end of this call, see it? And so we break the symmetry again. And here is a role called the calling party, or originator. And here is a role called the receiving party, or the person being called. And then these are their terminals, or their telephones. We've done local symmetry breaking at the site where the person is using it, rather than global symmetry breaking. Alexander is very strong on local symmetry breaking. This has to do with how human beings think about things. So if I want to call my wife, I'll think, yeah, okay, I have this object. It is my phone. That's part of my mental model. And then I have me. That's my presence. And there's my wife over there. That's her. That's part of my mental model. And now I have this thing called a phone call. That's also part of my mental model that ties these together. It's a use case. I pick up the phone. I get dial tone. I dial a number. I get ring back. My wife picks up the phone. That's a use case. And I want a place for that. DCI has a place for this. So it's a very human perspective. And two last quotes here. Living things, though often symmetrical, rarely have perfect symmetry. Indeed, perfect symmetry is often a mark of death in things rather than life. I believe the lack of clarity in the subject has arisen because of a failure to distinguish overall symmetry from local symmetries. In general, a large symmetry of the simplified neoclassicist type, they can read the top. That's the important part. Okay? There's always matters of location and context and function. Here's this word context again, which require the symmetry be broken. That was Christopher Alexander. Here's Christopher Alexander again. Nature, too. Nature is a translation of the word Zuran. Creates beautiful structures which are governed by repeated application of structure-preserving transformation. In this connection, I think it is useful to remark that what I call structure-preserving transformations are very closely related to what has become known as symmetry breaking in physics. So this nature, the concepts that we find in nature of order come in large part from physics and some work Alexander did with a physicist at the University of Texas. They are about what the structure of matter is at a very deep level. They are about how our minds work. So architecture is not just a tool for getting profit or maintainability. It is a metaphysic that goes to the very foundations of what things are. This is what Alexander was trying to do with patterns. This is what we are trying to do with DCI, is to get into the mind of our end users and take the deep structures of nature and to put them in the code. And this isn't just philosophy. We have this running today. This is real. It is simple. It is simple to learn. But what is important are the values. So, community, yes, we have user and programmer sharing a mental model. Experience, yes, we have domain models. Deliberation, yes, we have the whole team working together. Soulful reflection, just-in-time features, piecemeal growth, and we restored product. It's not just all process anymore. We have geometry again. We have a real product, something that reflects what is in our mind. What's important is the product. This is where the focus is, on the geometry. A pulsating fluid, but nonetheless definite entity swims in your mind's eye. It's a geometrical image. It is far more than the knowledge of the problem. It's the knowledge of the problem coupled with the knowledge of the kinds of geometrics which will solve the problem, and coupled with the feeling which is created by that kind of geometry solving that problem. I hope you will all experience this feeling this afternoon in this afternoon's talk. You will be challenged to feel these things. This is what great software architecture is about. This pulsating fluid but definite entity that is floating in your mind and you are going to reduce to code. And your mind and your end user's mind should be the same. That's agile. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Agile patterns. Scrum, the DCI architecture, are all just Zuran. They are all the same thing. What are patterns about? We have pattern languages. It's my turn to show a slide from 10 years ago. When I put up this slide, Alexander told me about a drunken night he had in the countryside when he was here working on the school and meeting with a feng shui master and trading notes about, well, my pattern language says we should put the gate here. So to the feng shui master, where would you put it? And he says, well, okay, dragon slept here and, water runs here. I would put it here. And it's exactly the same place where Alexander put it. Asked the same question for the kitchen. So, when I asked Alexander about feng shui, he said, that mystical stuff, okay, that's all crap. On the other hand, the feng shui master and I came to the same decisions. If ever you needed evidence that there is something deeper going on than we talk about or that we are conscious of, that is it. So I think that's one of the reasons that Nakano-san and Sasagawa-san are here. And I look forward to this dialogue that we can have. I talked about this the last time I was here. There's common roots there. Why? Why? There's something very deep going on here. Alexander has called it the I. He's called it the one. He has called it the quality without a name, Mumyu no Shitsu. This is the level at which architecture starts to add value to our end users and fulfills the agendas of lean and agile, and adding value to our communities and improving quality of life. That is the pattern agenda. So Alexander's pattern values still live on. They're very similar to those of lean, but they're almost absent from modern software patterns. The values are there still in Scrum, in lean architecture, and some other ideas that still live on in software. Software patterns should maybe go back and revisit where they came from. Can we again read Alexander? Can we again learn and reinterpret what Alexander maybe meant for us? Alexander left his legacy to us in software at Uppsala in 1996. If we can go back and revisit these deep principles of feeling, of the things we find in lean, and of community, and of geometry, and focusing on the product, not just the process, we can maybe achieve this architectural vision. As I said 10 years ago, because all these things have roots back in Zuran, in Japanese culture, I think that the chances for